Okay, so we talked to Matt Williamson of ESPN, who's kind of, ESPN is doing it with a couple of different guys. Interesting sort of thing. They're trying to project who the best players might be at certain NFL positions, but 3 years into the future. Now,
right.
I tell you want to talk about tough. The average NFL career is about 3 years.
Right.
So, this is really, trying to do something that's difficult. And what we found really interesting, and what Matt did when we had him on the show, and you can listen to the podcast on the Bob and Groz page, is of the running backs he projected 10 in 2016 to be the best. One of them was Christine Michael.
Number 5, right in the middle. And he was basically talking, and he'd had a little explanation underneath each one as to what he expects and why, and he put him and Marcus Lattimore is the 2 best backs in the draft class, talking about these are, if not for off-field issues that we had talked about before with Christine Michael, some of the immaturity issues and things that were happening with him at college, perhaps he would have been drafted much higher than he was, and he expects him, I think he said the word was, or the line in his explanation was, in 2016 he's going to be a stud running back, and called him an every down back. So you hope that's true. And we just talked about our reaction the day we were there. We were doing an appearance of the day of the draft, and people were asking us, "What do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do?"
They're not going to take a running back, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was my line. I was the dopey one who told the guy who asked me that. I said, "Well, the only 2 positions that would stun me would be quarterback and running back, because they really Turbin's there, Lynch is in his prime, and Turbin's there, so they go off the board and go running back." But it looks like if he lives up to what other people think of him, and Williamson's not alone in this, if he lives up to that, a savvy move by the Seahawks.
Well, and Lattimore, whose issues are injuries, is a 49er.
Right.
And their situation with him is that he won't have to play this year because of Frank Gore, and we were talking about it too. In the case of Michael, he might not wind up playing all that much this year. That wouldn't change anything to do with his projection in 3 years, but if Marshawn Lynch is still Marshawn Lynch, he's getting the ball. I mean, there's no reason necessarily to cut his carries down, and I think we both thought Turbin was pretty good, in the opportunities that he saw. Now, we know Leon Washington is out of the picture, but he was never getting any carries anyway, really. Very rarely was he getting those carries. So I wouldn't be surprised if Michael didn't have a particularly big role this year. And I don't know that Williamson would be either. It does project to 3 years in advance, and when Marshawn Lynch is done, and we know with running backs that could be at any moment.
Unless Pete goes compete and lets him compete with Turbin for that backup spot, and perhaps beats him. Who knows what the plan is, but maybe that competition opens up, and maybe he does beat out Turbin as much as we think he's the logical number 2. Maybe that is a change that happens.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm certain about now is they'll draft a quarterback first next year.